The morning fog hung thick over the mountains of Afghanistan when Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez first pulled the trigger that would change everything. She lay perfectly still on a rocky outcrop, her rifle steady against her shoulder, watching through the scope as three Taliban fighters moved along a distant ridge. They had no idea death was tracking them from 800 meters away. Elena had been in country for 6 months, but this was different from her previous deployments. This time, she wasn't part of a regular infantry unit or even a standard sniper team. She had been quietly reassigned to a classified program that officially didn't exist. No unit patches, no formal recognition, just a call sign that would eventually become whispered legend among special operations forces worldwide. The call sign was Ghost. Her spotter, Sergeant Marcus Chun, lay beside her with binoculars. He had been skeptical when command paired him with a female sniper. That skepticism lasted exactly 1 week. Elena's first confirmed kill came at 1,247 meters in conditions that would have challenged the best marksman in the world. The Taliban fighter had been setting up a mortar position that threatened a convoy of medical supplies heading to a remote village. Target acquired. Elena whispered into her radio. Permission to engage. Ghost, you are cleared hot, came the reply from their handler, a voice they knew only as control. Elena's breathing slowed to almost nothing. Her heart rate dropped. The world around her seemed to pause as she made the minute calculations that separated life from death. Wind speed, humidity, target movement, bullet drop. Her finger found the trigger with the gentle touch of someone stroking silk. The Barrett M82 bucked against her shoulder with its familiar recoil. Through the scope, she watched the target drop instantly. Clean, professional, silent except for the crack of the rifle that echoed off the mountains like thunder. Confirmed kill, Marcus said quietly. Package delivered. This was Elena's reality now. She had volunteered for the program after her previous sniper team was ambushed during a routine patrol. She had been the only survivor, saved by her position in Overwatch nearly a kilometer away. She watched helplessly through her scope as her teammates died. The guilt ate at her for months until a colonel with no name and credentials she couldn't verify approached her with an offer. "We need someone who can work alone," he had said. "Someone who can make the shots others can't make, in places others can't go. The enemy will never see you coming, and your own people will never know you were there." Elena accepted immediately. The program paired elite snipers with carefully selected spotters for missions that required absolute precision and complete deniability. They operated in small teams, often behind enemy lines for weeks at a time. Their targets weren't random fighters, but high-value individuals whose elimination could shift the balance of entire regions. Elena proved exceptional even among this elite group. While other teams in the program averaged 1 or 2 confirmed kills per month, she was taking down targets almost weekly. Her success rate was perfect. In 8 months of operations, she had never missed a shot that mattered, never been detected, never left evidence behind. The Taliban began to notice. Radio chatter picked up by intelligence services spoke of a ghost sniper who could strike from impossible distances. Some fighters refused certain assignments, claiming the mountains themselves were hunting them. Local commanders started varying their routes and schedules, never staying in one location too long. But Elena adapted faster than they could change their tactics. Her most famous shot came in November, during an operation to eliminate a Taliban commander known for orchestrating attacks on schools and hospitals. Intelligence placed him in a compound in a remote valley, surrounded by loyal fighters and natural defenses that made traditional assault impossible. Elena and Marcus inserted by helicopter 20 kilometers away, then moved through mountain terrain for 3 days to reach their position. They carried minimal gear, living on energy bars and water purification tablets. Every ounce of weight mattered when you had to move silently across terrain that could kill you as easily as enemy bullets. The target compound sat in the valley below, protected by geography that channeled any approaching force into predictable killing fields. But Elena wasn't approaching. She was already there, invisible among the rocks 800 meters above the valley floor. The Taliban commander, Rashid al-Mansuri, was cautious but not paranoid enough. Intelligence indicated he would appear on the compound's roof each morning at dawn to perform prayers. Elena spent 2 days studying his routine, noting the exact timing, the position he chose, how long he remained exposed. On the 3rd morning, she was ready. The shot came just as the first rays of sunlight touched the valley. Al-Mansuri knelt facing Mecca, his profile clear in Elena's scope. The distance was 847 meters with a slight crosswind, a shot that required absolute precision and perfect timing. Elena's breathing stopped. Her finger pressed the trigger with surgical gentleness. The bullet traveled for nearly a full second before impact. Through her scope, Elena watched al-Mansuri collapse instantly. The fighters around him scrambled in confusion, scanning the surrounding mountains for threats they would never find. Target down, Marcus confirmed through binoculars. Clean hit, but this kill was different. Within hours, radio intercepts revealed something unexpected. The Taliban weren't just angry about losing al-Mansuri. They were terrified. The precision and seemingly impossible nature of the shot had sparked rumors that spread faster than wildfire through their communication networks. Some claimed it was an American superweapon. Others insisted it was divine intervention. But the most persistent rumor was the one that concerned Elena most. They believed a ghost warrior was hunting their leaders, someone who could see through walls and shoot through storms. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. Taliban commanders began refusing to operate in mountainous regions. Some went into hiding. Others demanded massive security details that made them less effective as leaders. The mere possibility that Elena might be watching made experienced fighters nervous and unpredictable. Word of the ghost began reaching other special operations units, though none knew her real identity or even that she was female. Navy SEALs operating in the same region reported hearing Taliban fighters warn each other about the mountain ghost that never misses. Army Rangers passed along intercepted communications describing a sniper who shoots like Allah himself guides the bullet. Elena's handler, Control, began assigning increasingly difficult targets. Not just Taliban commanders, but bomb makers, foreign fighters, anyone whose elimination would save American lives or disrupt enemy operations. Each mission pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible in precision shooting. The winter missions were the worst. Operating in sub-zero temperatures where her breath could give away her position, where metal contracts enough to throw off carefully calibrated equipment, where a moment's loss of concentration could mean frostbite or death. But Elena thrived in conditions that defeated other snipers. During a blizzard in December, she eliminated 2 Taliban fighters who were coordinating mortar attacks on an American forward operating base. The shot was taken in near whiteout conditions at 623 meters. The only reason she could acquire the target was because of her ability to read wind patterns in the snow, a skill that took years to develop and couldn't be taught from manuals. Marcus, who had initially requested a transfer after his first month with Elena, became her most devoted advocate. He watched her make shots that defied explanation, operate in conditions that should have been impossible, and maintain perfect discipline through months of high-stress operations. "She doesn't shoot like other snipers," he reported during a debriefing with Control. "She shoots like the rifle is part of her body, like she can see things the rest of us miss." But Elena's success came with a price. The isolation of operating in a program that officially didn't exist meant she had no one to talk to about the weight of taking so many lives. No chaplain, no counselor, no official recognition of what she was doing or sacrificing. Just mission after mission, kill after kill, and the growing legend of a sniper who might not even be human. The Taliban placed a bounty on the ghost's head, $50,000 for information leading to the sniper's capture or death. When that failed to produce results, they increased it to $100,000. When that also failed, they stopped putting numbers on the bounty and simply promised that whoever killed the ghost would become a hero throughout the Islamic world. Elena learned about the bounty through intelligence briefings, but it didn't change her approach. If anything, it confirmed that her work was having the intended effect. Fear was a weapon as powerful as any bullet, and she was wielding it with devastating precision. Her reputation spread beyond Afghanistan. Special operations commanders in Iraq began requesting her services for high-priority eliminations. Intelligence agencies wanted to borrow her for operations in Pakistan. Even allies started asking questions about the American sniper, who seemed to possess supernatural abilities. But Elena remained focused on the mission directly in front of her. Each target represented lives saved, operations disrupted, progress toward bringing American forces home safely. She didn't shoot for glory or recognition. She shot because people were counting on her, even though they would never know her name. The program's success metrics were classified, but the results spoke for themselves. Taliban recruitment in Elena's area of operations dropped by 40%. Attacks on coalition forces decreased by 60%. Key leadership figures became so paranoid about the ghost that they made tactical mistakes that led to their capture or death by other means. Elena had become more than just a sniper. She was a psychological weapon that was winning battles without firing a shot. As her first year in the program neared its end, Control approached her with a new assignment. Not just another target, but something that would require her to operate deeper behind enemy lines than ever before. Something that would test every skill she had developed and some she hadn't yet discovered. The briefing took place in a secure facility that Elena had never seen before and would never see again. Maps covered the walls, showing terrain so remote that satellites could barely penetrate the mountain shadows. Photos of targets whose elimination would cripple Taliban operations across 3 provinces. "This is voluntary," Control said. "No one would question your service if you chose a different assignment." Elena studied the maps, calculated the distances, assessed the risks. It was the most dangerous mission she had ever been offered. Success would require her to operate alone for weeks in territory controlled entirely by people who wanted her dead more than almost anyone else on Earth. She looked up at Control and gave the same answer she had given when first recruited for the program. "When do I leave?" The legend of the ghost was about to become something even more extraordinary. But first, Elena Vasquez had to survive what would either be the greatest triumph of her career or her final mission. The helicopter dropped Elena and Marcus at the edge of nowhere, 30 kilometers from the Pakistani border, in terrain so hostile that even the Taliban used it sparingly. The pilot gave them a thumbs up and disappeared into the night sky, leaving them alone with enough supplies for 3 weeks and a mission that intelligence analysts privately rated as having less than a 40% chance of success. Elena adjusted her pack and checked her rifle one final time. The Barrett had been her constant companion for over a year now, and she trusted it more than any person except Marcus. Together, they began moving toward their target area, a network of caves and mountain fortifications where 3 high-value Taliban commanders were planning what intelligence indicated would be a coordinated spring offensive. The mission parameters were unlike anything Elena had attempted before. The targets would only be in the same location for a 72-hour window. The distances involved would push her rifle to its absolute maximum effective range. The terrain offered limited concealment and fewer escape routes. If discovered, they would be at least 12 hours from any possible extraction, surrounded by fighters who knew the mountains better than anyone. But the potential impact made the risks acceptable. These 3 commanders controlled recruitment, funding, and operations across a region larger than some American states. Their planned offensive threatened not just coalition forces, but civilian populations in dozens of villages. Eliminating them simultaneously would create chaos in Taliban leadership that could take months to resolve. Elena and Marcus moved through the mountains like shadows, covering distance at night and remaining hidden during daylight hours. They carried minimal gear to maintain mobility, but Elena's rifle case never left her side. Inside was not just the Barrett, but a second weapon, a custom-built rifle chambered in .338 Lapua that could deliver precision fire at even greater distances. On the second night, they reached their planned observation position, a rocky outcrop that provided clear sight lines to the target area while remaining concealed from below. Elena spent hours studying the terrain through night vision, memorizing every boulder, every path, every position where a target might appear. The intelligence briefing had provided detailed information about the three commanders. Khalid Omar was a former Afghan army officer who had defected to the Taliban, bringing military training and tactical knowledge that made him exceptionally dangerous. Ahmad Zafar specialized in bomb making and had personally trained the terrorists responsible for dozens of attacks on coalition forces. Hassan Durrani controlled smuggling routes and funding networks that kept Taliban operations supplied across the entire region. Each man had survived numerous attempts on his life. They traveled with heavy security, varied their routes randomly, and trusted no one outside their immediate circle. But they all shared one weakness. They were meeting in person to coordinate their spring offensive, something they had never done before. Elena's mission was to eliminate all three during that meeting. The first day of surveillance revealed the compound's security measures. Guards rotated positions every 2 hours. Sentries were posted at approaches that commanded excellent fields of fire. The meeting would take place in a cave system that provided natural protection from airstrikes and made ground assault virtually impossible. But Elena wasn't planning an assault. She was planning 3 separate shots, each one requiring split-second timing and perfect accuracy. Miss any target, and the survivors would disappear into the mountains forever. Alert the guards too early, and extraction would become impossible. Marcus mapped guard rotations while Elena calculated firing solutions for every possible scenario. The optimal shooting position would require her to move closer to the compound, well within the range where discovery meant certain death. But the alternative was accepting shot distances that pushed beyond even her exceptional capabilities. On the afternoon of the second day, Elena made her decision. "I'm going forward," she told Marcus as they reviewed their options. "There's a ridge 800 meters closer that gives me the angles I need." Marcus studied the terrain map. "That puts you inside their perimeter. If they run patrols, then I'll be very still," Elena replied. That evening, Elena moved alone through territory controlled by people who had put the largest bounty in Taliban history on her head. She carried only her rifle, ammunition, and minimal survival gear. Every step had to be planned and executed perfectly. A single sound, a glimpse of movement, even a reflection from her scope could bring dozens of fighters down on her position. The forward position was a narrow ledge barely wide enough for one person, concealed behind rocks, but offering clear sight lines to the cave entrance where the meeting would take place. Elena settled into position just after midnight, then began the most difficult part of any sniper's job: waiting. For 36 hours, she remained motionless except for the minimal movements necessary to maintain circulation and avoid muscle cramps. She ate energy bars